Hi and welcome to the predictions based on astrology for the week of November 18th, 2019. So first, let's quickly go over the two, background influences that I expect for this week. One is the ongoing influence that has to do with ongoing transit, that's in place 2019 and 2020, which is the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. So we may expect ongoing sort of news about restructuring in the governments, restructuring in the large corporations, some geopolitical shifts, basically some territories being split into smaller territories, or some, provinces changing their status, leaders that have been in power for a long time being removed or just resigning on their own, and or just changes in basically who is in power, and also increase in earthquakes, major accidents, especially those that involve like old buildings crumbling, infrastructure crumbling, or vice versa. I guess the positive influence could be that major infrastructure projects that are meant to stand for decades can also start right now, and those that are started at 2019, 2020 may actually be in good shape for again long time, at least like next about 30 years, and they may be actually more stable than projects that begin at other times or more large scale. So let's see, another influence that is specific for this week is we may expect increase in international news. By international news, I mean news about international relations, agreements, shipments, travel, immigration, as well as like tariffs and anything to do with like laws or judges, lawsuits, attorneys, and basically maybe an important judge is involved in something, or maybe there's an important lawsuit pending. I guess we can think of Trump being, I forget, was it basically something that is in legal inquiry and or inquiry into someone's legal status, be it, like I said, immigration or status with respect to them having rights to something. So those kind of news may permeate sort of the media, and we may also hear this week about important financial deals reached, especially that involve either international entities or specifically involve like long distance shipment, travel, and or like I said, lawyers, laws, and that might be especially significant towards the end of the week. So the amount of money that these financial deals may involve can be quite exceptional, so larger than usual. At the same time, if there's a large purchase made at this time by one company, maybe is acquiring another company, that actually may be quite have a positive outcome, meaning that could be a profitable move. And other sort of persons that we may hear about more this week than usual, other than like lawyers, judges, etc., could be professors, powerful foreign leaders, and or businessmen that are again, at the head of various multinational corporations, maybe diplomats. And we may also hear kind of more about either these people's earnings, their wealth, or maybe some affairs, especially if it's a man, some affair with women, etc. So moving on to the individual days of the week, I think the entire week, right. So for this week, I think it's going to be a more or less a positive week for the market, and I pretty much made a prediction of market going up for each individual day of the week. Some days are going to have stronger up influence than others. So Monday looks like a fairly good day. Monday the 21st, Monday the 18th looks like a pretty good day, and for the US specifically, there might be increased focus on areas of sports or racing or even fighting. So sports, but like some fighting news, gaming, racing, like I said, as well as weapons, military, and international partnerships. So these areas may see some sort of focus where there might be some news about some future goals in those areas, but at the same time, there may be a disconnect between what the country's, the US goals are for those areas and what the international partners' goals are. So the US goals may be to kind of improve profits from international connections or through import-export, export. And at the same time, partners may not be quite cooperating. They may feel act angry or angrily, and they may communicate rudely, not be quite cooperative when it comes to reaching a deal, either act too slow or too fast, and or there may be some legal limitations that may be standing in the way of reaching some sort of agreement that, again, the US would like to reach to improve, these areas I just mentioned through some international collaboration. There may also be some questions around the value of the expenses if the projects are reached, whether or not sort of the value is there. Perhaps something, the values, something is not worth the investment, like there's a project, maybe a sports-related project, for example, and maybe, too much money is spent on it, and or there may be news about kind of where the value, basically something was overpriced, or maybe something needed additional expense on, say, on the military, something in some campaign, and then there's news about money being wasted, basically not used properly. Or perhaps there's a valuable opportunity that comes up in some of these areas, maybe, even related to, say, weapons, like I said, gaming or something. Maybe it's a business that is releasing a video game of some sort, but there may be discussions whether or not this business is worth investment or not, whether or not perhaps, this business is trying to secure funds, and there's this discussion whether or not basically it is worthy or not. So for both the Tuesday and Wednesday, 19th and 20th, I think the market will most likely go up. Thursday, the up influence, and Friday, 21st, 22nd, the up influence is even stronger. For Thursday, we may hear about some agreements or sales, negotiations or discussions where there's some sort of a reversal point in those discussions, where maybe if something had previously been stalled or there was a pause or delay, then now these activities may resume. So if there were discussions about, say, acquisition of something or some sort of agreement was to be signed and previously it had to be put on hold, now on the 21st, it may resume. And similarly, if there are some delays, maybe due to like previous weeks, say excessive rains or something like that, or some other problems with the communication transportation, maybe there's some problems like the power outages or something like that, then the movement may resume. And say if there are delays in the airport, then on Thursday that would be resolved. Then on Friday, the 22nd, is probably the strongest influence of the week in terms of sort of positive energy and market going up. And regardless of the direction, I expect that Friday will bring larger than average move in the market. Then November 22nd through 24th, especially the 24th, actually also very important dates. And we have time where we may hear more news than usual about like accidents, especially involving airlines, so some sort of space-related objects, flying objects like rockets, drones, and or electric vehicles, electricity, maybe power outages, a power pole, fell on something, transformer blew out, whatever. Explosions, sudden attacks, so maybe like a rocket attack comes in suddenly, as well as fires, especially due to some electrical malfunctioning or lightning storms and or other disasters. And again, especially that come in suddenly, like an explosion. And again, it just could be a disaster that comes in suddenly, something suddenly gives way, sudden changes, and or may involve secretive activities, underground locations, electricity, engines, and airspace. And so on those dates, like I said, 22nd through 24th of November, especially the 24th, there may be increased news about like power outages or loss of some service, especially maybe a cloud provider goes down or something like that, and or problems with electric supply or social media sites, as well as financial services that specifically occur through the internet. And there may also be increased news about cryptocurrencies and or some surprises related to banks and financial institutions, again specifically related to those electronics or services that they offer. And in general, there may be some increased news about like loss of connectivity, loss of values, maybe for cryptocurrencies. There may be sudden, loss of value or sudden gain of value, this up and down, or maybe there's a stoppage of, trade basically the trading is stopped because, again, maybe the service goes down temporarily, or it's just stopped because there's this wild fluctuation perhaps, and or some people may be unable to access their funds all of a sudden, or there's some other abrupt change. So maybe like if there's a negotiation and maybe there's an offer to buy maybe a company or something like that, or make some sort of a deal transaction, maybe the offer comes out, but then it's suddenly withdrawn, or previously withdrawn order suddenly comes back unexpectedly. For US, the 22nd, 24th are also important dates. We may hear about increased sort of news about the finance, profits, earnings, status on the world arena, especially when it pertains to financial kind of area, and things like workforce, healthcare, veterinary care, and livestock, as well as governmental contracts and social services that aim to help people who maybe have some disabilities or they need additional kind of support with their healthcare, or just basically people who rely on some services basically to survive. And there may be announcements about some initiatives that may benefit these areas. Maybe an approved additional, money to help folks that are needy, or investment into healthcare. That some money may come in sooner than expected, or an approval may come sooner than expected, or approval, they receive funding for perhaps more money. And there may also be positive news for the US about fruitful negotiations with international partner, and which may result in the profitable agreement, and like I said, maybe even a sudden unexpected agreement, but profitable for US at this time. And those same dates, November 22nd and 24th, actually are also important in the horoscope for China. And at that time for China, it actually looks a little bit more stressful. So there may be some stressful news that may put a damper on the country's goals and vision for the future, that as it relates to healthcare, workforce, livestock, and like veterinary care. So for example, there may be some surprising and unpleasant developments related to these areas. Maybe some sort of flare-up of some livestock disease, some sort of flu, swine flu or something like that, or even a disease that affects humans, some sort of infectious disease, or even fires that come up unexpectedly. And those may affect shipments, communication, travel, and sales, especially in those areas. So let's see, and continue on briefly for Monday, November 25. I believe this will continue to be sort of an important day, where if say there's increased discussions over the weekend about various international agreements, or an important sale, especially financial sale, or maybe agreement between large corporations, especially multiple that involve multiple countries, or international agreement, and that may have been sort of in the works over the weekend. On Monday, it may come, in the morning, there may be an announcement about it being finalized, and I believe it may bring the market up on the 25th of November, so the following Monday, on the positive news of this, agreement being reached, or some sort of positive transaction being made, or more money is available. And I'd say it may be related again to some international agreements, immigration, and or long distance transportation, or travel. So it may involve again moving products or people kind of across borders, and those things at this time, whatever the announcement or agreement is made, should facilitate exchange of goods, or exchange basically of people, and make things kind of happier, easier for everybody. And so this may be a positive type of news, where it may bring happy mood to the following Monday, the 25th, and I think it will also result in market going up. And soon enough, I will be moving on to the prediction for the following week, and I'll see you guys in just a few minutes when I talk about that. Hope you enjoyed this segment, and I'll get you very soon. Bye.